The ALASA board member will give us the vote of thanks. And in your program, the vote of thanks appear most at the end of the program as part of consolidating everything that has transpired in this conference. So in that respect, colleagues, I will ask and request Professor Mhoboya to come to the podium and give us the opening remarks. Thank you. It won't be harmful to give him the round of applause, so that if you are not pleased with his remarks, at least he has received his reward.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I see that when you see this wad of paper, you think that I'm going to take much of your time. I'm just going to be very brief. I want to start by recognizing and honoring the established protocol of the university. That is where we start normally. I know on the first day of the conference did it, but I have to reiterate it and emphasize it to all of us. And our protocol, as you may know, comprises of our Vice Chancellor and Principal, Professor Matlo Mokhalung, and we also have the two DVCs. Teaching and Learning, Professor Richard Madachi, you know him, he belongs to ALASA. We have Professor Mutiva. I'm standing in for her here. She's our DVC Research, Innovation and Partnerships. And then we also have Executive Deans of Faculty. We have 4 faculties in our university. You have seen one. With whom we work almost every day, Professor Maudu. She was with us on the day of the gala dinner. And then we also have others. She's the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Humanities, where our school belongs. If I may, in a nutshell, give you the architecture of our faculty. We have the executive team, we have the school director, the School of Languages and Communication Studies, which is actually the host of the conference, as it were. School of Languages and Communication. We have 3 departments. We have the Department of Language. In this instance, we have English, we call it English Studies, and then we also have 3 indigenous African languages that are spoken in this part of the province: Chivenda, Xitsonga, Northern Sotho. And in the Department of Languages, we mainly monolingualize. I know we always debate with Professor Ndombela and other colleagues about monolingualism, but in the Department of Languages, emphasis is put on monolingualism, as it were. In translation, it's another department, DLTI, Linguistics, Translation and Interpreting. That is where we multilingualize, bilingualize, we interpret, we do all sorts of things. You know them, as it were. And then the last department in our school is the Department of Communication, Media and Information Studies. That's where we produce journalists. Radio TEF falls under that department, and it is also in our school, as it were. There you are. That is the architecture of our school. So you belong to us, and I'm not trying to market us, But if there are some of us here who want to pursue their PhD studies, their M studies, our doors are open. You can approach us, and then we it's part of networking. It's part of growing this big family, as it were. Thank you very much. Let me also greet, I've recognized, greet the marketing team that is helping us here. We have Mr. Dowat in particular, who has done a sterling job. You know, conferences, you know how the nature of conferences, what characterizes conferences, what goes into conference organization. In all honesty, it is not a child's play. So you need to, you may clap hands for yourselves, if you will, because we have succeeded, colleagues. We really have succeeded. It is a mammoth task, indeed. So I would like to thank even the local organizing committee, under the leadership, the able leadership of Professor Moffat Sobola, and the team. They've also done a sterling job. We have Mrs. Madiba here. I'm greeting. I'm not doing vote of thanks. Miss Madiba, local Pensalt manager. You know, we are always they're always with us. We support one another, each other through thick and thin, as it were. At times we kick, we do a lot of things together. At the end, we embrace after succeeding, as it were, in the interest of our progress. I also want to welcome and thank our keynote speakers. We have Dr. Mbofu, Ms. Zivani. Ms. Zivani is our sign language lecturer, interpreter. She's just working on campus throughout. Sign language is our 12th language colleagues. So our university has made strides in that regard. Dr. Buddha, Professor Pra, the veteran. On Wednesday, we had the Department of Arts, Sport, Arts and Culture. They are our partners, colleagues. So we want to thank them a lot, as it were. Today we are supposed to be having the Honorable Soviet Lkhanyani, but I'm told, he is held up, as it were. But in absentia, we thank those who support us, who support ALASA, who support the development, growth, and enhancement of African languages. Today is our last day. You are still going to continue to essentialize, to democratize, to liberalize, to modernize, to technologize African languages. That's who we are. There's no way in which we can be separated from ourselves. The culmination of our conference was on Wednesday. It was a climax. And a climax of everything that started on Tuesday. Actually, it didn't start on Tuesday. We started working on this last year, as you may know, as it were. And like I said, we have pulled it through. We know today it's ending, but it's not actually ending. It's continuing, as it were. So I would like to thank you and welcome you in this way, ladies and gentlemen. Papers, well-researched papers, even though I did not attend all the sessions, colleagues. We are live. The event is streamed live. Even if you do not see people physically present here, they are somewhere watching us, as it were. I was also watching the proceedings, even though I was not physically around in the past, yesterday actually, because on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I think I was around, as it were. So we listened to all the papers, and we believe and hope that they are going to be translated into publishable, the head accredited papers, as it were, so that our languages are solidified and strengthened, as it were. We, on behalf of the university, would like to thank all of you for having seen it proper and fit to come over the site and put us on the map with this conference. Before I sit down, colleagues, I would like to say, even next year, come here. Thank you so much, Program Director.
And that was Professor Mhoboya. In the words of Shakespeare, he said, let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediment. So we are not going to add any salt or subtract. However, we may want to argue, but we thank you so much for these wonderful remarks. ALASA is a great organization, which I think has made its mark in the languages fraternity in the Southern Africa, and I think it's still continuously expanding its tentacles and will probably grow international. I think I've heard that remark that it's now almost fitting to make it an international organization. So we love language. Language defines us. Language identifies us. How much we love language, Dr. Nengobera will always remind us when he introduces himself in his song. In as far as the career is concerned, I teach English. I do most of the things in English, but I'm Zulu as well. So when I see myself, I also see my roots from the Zulu. So when I praise myself as well, when I sing myself and celebrate myself, for every atom belonging to me, as good belongs to you. So my tongue and every atom of my blood formed from this soil, this air, born of parents the same and their parents the same. So I would say I'm part of isidlugula dlwedlwe. Umahlome ehlathini njengohlanya. Uhlanya lusemehlweni amadoda luyadla. Lubeka ihlanga emadolweni. So I'm part of you, you are part of me, and we love who we are and what we are. So this is the epitome of our conference. This is a Friday. It is the last day of the conference. Professor Mhoboya has highlighted, has actually touched a little bit on the keynote that appears in your programs. But we always save the best for last. So it will give me such a tremendous pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, that I will introduce to you on the last day of the conference. Speaker, whom I am also proud to at least have contributed somehow into the stature of the speaker by way of promoting the doctoral studies of the speaker. I normally say it is always a wonderful thing that when you have made a contribution to someone's academic life and they make strides and they actually march so much ahead of you, but you always are consoled when they can at least catch a side of you in their review mirror. You know, you are still trailing there behind them, but they can at least see your shadow trailing behind. It's always a good thing. I always tell Dr. Mashian that she has become my boss. And to have a boss that you have also at least made however small a contribution as well in her post-graduate qualification. It's also a wonderful thing as well. At least she can still see me when she looks at her review mirror. At least you can see my shadow somewhere trailing behind. So we have a wonderful speaker. It is a she, if you are still speculating, and it's one of us. Has been in ALASA for as far as one can remember. Our keynote speaker for this morning is the director of the University of the Free State Academy for Multilingualism and has been in that position since 2022. And prior to that, she was a senior lecturer and a module leader for academic literacy and digital literacy at the Nelson Mandela Medical School in Port Elizabeth, at Gqeberha. She has also been a lecturer at the University of KwaZulu-Natal School of Education and at Mangosuthu University of Technology within the Teaching and Learning Development Center. She holds a PhD from the University of Zululand, postgraduate diploma in higher education from Rhodes University, a master's degree from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. These are just a few qualifications that she holds. She has published a number of papers in national and international journals. She has also presented research in local and international conference. She has edited a number of academic books, including an academic book written in different South African official languages under the title Using Indigenous Languages for Teaching and Learning in Higher Education, which is published by UKZN Press. And another one, which is titled Online Teaching and Learning in Higher Education, Issues and Challenges in an African Context, which is published by Springer. She has been a guest editor of a number of journal special issues, including Language, Multilingualism and Decolonization in Higher Education by the Journal of African Perspectives of Teaching and Learning, and a special issue on Languages Without Limits, Translanguaging for Curriculum Transformation in the Global South by the Southern African Linguistics and Applied Linguistics Society. She is an interdisciplinary researcher, most of her latest research focusing on multilingualism, translanguaging, language policy, and Ubuntu pedagogy in higher education. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Dr. Nomalungelo Ngubane.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu Mahlobo. Thank you very much, Program Director. While we're still trying to sort out, okay, you want me to? Leadership of the University of Limpopo. Thank you very much, Prof, for the warm welcome. I submit under the protocol that you just observed now. Thank you very much for that. Executive Board of ALASA, Local Organizing Committee, Leadership of PENSALP nationally and provincially, esteemed keynote speakers of ALASA 2025, honorable guest of, honorable delegate of ALASA 2025, Sanbonani, Molweni, Dumelang, Tobela. Good morning, everyone. I think that I will start while we're still waiting for the technicians to assist me. Thank you very much to the LOC committee for giving me this opportunity. I had a very, very brief instruction. Do not be too long, it's Friday. Do not be too serious, it's Friday. Keep it simple. I think that that's exactly what I will do, colleagues. Thank you for waking up as well on a Friday and on the last day of the conference to be with me today. I really appreciate your presence. My topic for today, the title is African Languages Beyond Policies, from Rhetoric to Responsibility. Fixing the aeroplane while it is in the air. Why is this topic, or why is this title important for me? I think that it aligns very well with the theme of ALASA 2025. They're asking us to reimagine African languages beyond the policies, beyond the restoration, beyond all the documents that are available which talk about the development of African languages, but we're still where we are right now after 30 years of democracy. So ALASA 2025, I think that they are saying let us start to be serious about how we do things, especially as far as the development and intellectualization of our African languages. continue. All right. Thank you. Colleagues, I will just continue while he's trying to fix my PowerPoint. So the message I'm trying to put across when I say that let us fix the aeroplane while it is in the air. I'm trying to say that I do not believe that there will be time in the now or in the future where everything will be perfect for us to start to develop and intellectualize our languages. I don't believe there will be time in the now or in the future when everything is perfect in terms of resources, in terms of availability of funds, whether they come from the government or they come from our institutions, where we'll have a time when we'll have enough manpower that will assist us, enough support, positive attitude toward our African languages, support from the leadership of our universities. But we still need, it is our responsibility, we still need to start somewhere. And then we'll fix everything while we move along. That is why I say that we fix the aeroplane while it is in the air. So in that spirit, I would like us to think that how do we immediately start developing our African languages? We cannot start big. We can even start small. Professor Pry yesterday said that we do not need millions of rands to develop our languages. He said we do not need people from somewhere where we do not know, but it is our responsibility, all of us here in this room, to start developing our languages. Let us make a move. He said that South Africa has produced, not even South Africa, even beyond South Africa, we have produced enough linguists to actually start developing in all the languages, to start developing our languages. So we do not expect that someone from somewhere will start to come and develop our languages. It is us, it is the speakers of these African languages that has the responsibility to actually intellectualize our languages. It looks like we are not winning. Okay, I will also carry on. Apologies about that, colleagues. Okay, thank you very much for that. Let us try it again. My name is Nomalungelo Ngubane. I'm from the University of the Free State. Specifically, I'm from the University of the Free State Academy for Multilingualism. Like I said earlier on, the title of my talk, it's not a very long talk, like I said, it's titled African Languages Beyond Policies, from Rhetoric to Responsibility, Fixing the Aeroplane While It Is in the Air. To open my talk, colleagues, I would like us to take just a brief moment to remember one of our greatest philosophers, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, may his soul rest in peace. He says, if you know all the languages of the world and you don't know your mother tongue, that is enslavement. But if you know your mother tongue and add all other languages of the world to it, that is empowerment. In other words, Ngugi is saying that if you want to enslave a person, take his or her language, take his soul, take his identity, take who he is or who that person is, take his culture, then that person will be your slave. With that in mind, I also would like to think about ourselves in the context of South African higher education. What has been happening to us as I still use the language of the master? I'm still a slave, guilty as charged. With that being said, I would like to frame my short talk within the two important documents that guide what we do with regards to the languages, especially in the context of higher education. The first one is Constitution of 1996. This is the oldest document that has been lying around in our context, in what it guides what we do. And then when you look at how are the African languages treated in the Constitution of 1996, I would like us to look at that. And then we look at the recent document, the Language Policy Framework of 2020, 24 years later after the Constitution. How are the African languages treated? Then I will take you through what we call at the University of the Free State, fixing the aeroplane while it is in the air. I will just give you just a snapshot of how we actually have started to realize the implementation of our African languages, its development and intellectualization, and the use in the academic spaces. We are not there today, but we have started somewhere. I hope that you will appreciate and will enjoy the journey that I will share with you. And then lastly, I will then just touch on what are the lessons, not the challenges. I think Professor Pra said yesterday that it should not be our point of departure, the challenges. When we talk about the challenges, as before we actually do anything, there is this challenge that I cannot, that prevents me from doing that. We call them lessons at the University of the Free State because definitely we learn from whatever experiences, and we appreciate those experiences as well. Okay, look at the Constitution 1996. We all know that it declares and recognizes 11 languages. Now there are 12. We really appreciate the recognition of the South African Sign Language as an official language. It also recognizes the equal status of these languages. I think that when the Constitution, 30 years ago, when we got to realize that there's something like this Constitution in South Africa, we were really so happy, especially with the recognition of the 11 official languages. Even though the Constitution does not say how are we going to develop these languages? What are the practical guidelines? There is no roadmap, but then we really appreciated that at least 11 official languages of South Africa are recognized. But then it left up to us as a state. When we speak about the state, we're referring to higher education institutions. We represent the state. There's no person that will come down from the government and give us the roadmap on how exactly, what are the practical measures that we need to do to elevate the status and advance the use of our indigenous languages. It left up to us. These are broad statements. Then it leaves to the higher education institutions. Like Professor Pras said yesterday, we have enough resources. We have intellectuals in higher education that will take the constitution and go and implement it in higher education. But it is such a sad story that with all the accolades, with all the PhDs that have been published, that have been produced in higher education, 30 years after democracy, 30 years after the constitution, we're still sitting with the underdevelopment of our languages. Who are we waiting for? Because there is a constitution that is saying that all your languages are official now. They have equal status, even though that is also questionable because it also includes English and Afrikaans. But if you put those two aside, then we focus on our African languages. How far have we taken that into practice? It also gives citizens the right to use and to be educated in their languages where that is possible. Why are we still robbing our students by not realizing the constitution? Why are we still giving them excuses why our African languages are not in the academic spaces when the constitution gives them that right? I'm not sure whether into the future we will be blamed because we were here in this point in time. All of us, we were right here when these transformative agendas were put into place. When this constitution was there, all of us, we were right here in the spaces of higher education institution. I don't know what we'll say in to our next generation. What did you do? What was your role? Were you the one always complaining, putting challenges before anything, saying that I cannot do this? I don't know how to do this, when there are people that actually have started to do things. And then the constitution then established PENSALP. Not sure whether Professor Lolimakub is here, but I recognize PENSALP provincial colleague. Then they established PENSALP to support in the promotion of our languages, to protect the right of our languages. I've never heard a complaint from PENSALP to say that we are overworked because universities are really working so hard. I've never heard that complaint from PENSALP. It means that we have not started to work, because if we have started to work, we will definitely be hearing those complaints that we need more people to work for PENSALP, because there are so many terminologies that we need to standardize. There are so many terminologies that we need to verify. We don't know where to start. But if we don't have those complaints, it means that we have not started to do work, what is expected of us. Then, ladies and gentlemen, I take you to the Language Policy Framework of Higher Education Institutions, 2020. This came after 25 years after the Constitution. So what is the position of our African languages in this beautiful language policy that drives what we do in higher education? It uses very persuasive language. It refers to our African languages as transformation tools. And then it speaks about decolonization. It talks about these beautiful terms and concepts of access and epistemic justice. I'm just wondering to what extent we actually driving towards that. But again, like the Constitution, it does not say what we need to do, who needs to do what, at what point in time. It just gives us the broad statements and leave up to us within the institutions, because there are experts there that will actually drive what the mandate of the language policy framework for public higher education institutions. I think that is deliberate, because if they were guiding us, we were going to again to complain that they are telling us to do ABC about our languages. We know best how to develop our languages. That is why they do not give us. How are we going to decolonize our African languages, right? I think we like to keep it open so that it gives us the mandate to drive the development of African languages. I really like the language policy framework of public higher education institution of 2020. It also gives institutions a responsibility to develop and implement a language policy that promotes African languages. And again, it does not give us any framework on how to do that. Because I don't have timekeeper, I think that I can speak for 3 hours or more. I will look at you, Prof, right? For time. All right. All right. So again, it gives us the responsibilities to develop and implement our language policies and promote our African languages. Again, it gives us a free way to say that you can start at anyhow. I don't want to limit you to say that you will start with terminology development. There's nothing like that in the policy framework. It says you are the experts in higher education. You are the linguist in higher education. You know best how to do this. But this is our vision from now moving on. Also, it talks about language development. It calls for the intellectualization and resources and resourcing of African languages in teaching, learning, and research. I'm not sure, colleagues, how much we have done that. Are we failing ourselves? Because the framework is there. Are we failing our students? Are we failing our next generation? Because if I think about it, we are the last generations that is so proud of our indigenous languages. Those that come behind us, they might not have an opportunity to be where we are right now. Again, curriculum integration, it encourages multilingual pedagogies and use of African languages beyond symbolic gestures. And I don't know to what extent in our different universities, all the universities that are present here, I'm not sure, colleagues, to what extent are we taking this serious? Or we just look at the language policy framework and say someone, somewhere will come and implement the language policy framework, and then we fold our arms, and then we complain every day. How much are we doing? I know there's so much that we're doing, colleagues, but we still have a lot to do as well. The issues of equity and access, the issues of multilingualism as central to student success. How much are we doing with regards to that? What are the multilingual initiatives that we have in our institutions? Are we sitting and hoping that our Faculty of Humanities will those are the people that deal with the languages while I teach engineering. But engineering is all about language. It begins with the language and ends with the language. Are we leaving it to the Department of African Languages? Those are the experts in the languages. While the students are failing, you're marking every day supplementary exams. Every day, every year, your students are failing because the barrier is the language. But you're still saying that it's none of my business. Yet it starts with the language and it ends with the language. So, ladies and gentlemen, while I was looking at these two documents, the Constitution and the Language Policy Framework, I was looking for the gaps as well. Where are the gaps between these two these two documents? What can we learn from them moving forward? How can we fill these gaps if there is anything that we can do? Like I said earlier on, the Constitution provides the principles without the procedures, which is a good thing, because sometimes we don't want to hold what to do, right? Because we are professors, because we are linguists, because we are experts in our field. We don't want anybody to impose any idea. But it gives us principles, which is very, very good, but it leaves us to come up with the procedures within our institutions, within our departments. It emphasizes equality of all official languages, but it does not engage how language inequalities affect learning. It talks about linguistic equalities. It gives us hope. It's very persuasive, but yet it does not say that what are the effects of language inequalities as far as learning is concerned, as far as teaching is concerned. The framework links a language to epistemic access, success, and decolonization, but yet it leaves how does that then looks like in operation. There is a gap there, that where we come in within our universities to fill that gap. And we are trusted because South Africa knows that we have experts that will actually fill the gap. The framework also requires universities to develop context-specific policies and report the progress. This is what actually is happening with the language policy framework. As from last year, I know that DHET has started, even though it's not much, but has started to roll out these grants to support the establishment and the development, intellectualization of our languages, so that we do not complain about inadequate resources, but there's somewhere where we start. I'll always refer back to what Professor Pras said yesterday, that we do not need millions and millions of rand. We need to start with whatever little that we have, and then we'll fix everything as we move along. So as from 2024, all higher education institutions in South Africa has been granted, including my institution. We've been funded to develop the language, our African languages, and we are monitored every year. I do remember those visits. We are monitored every year to see how are we progressing with that. Are we using this money for the purpose that it was established for? What is the gap? What do we need on top of what we're already getting? That is a positive. I think that is a positive move on the part of DHET, so that we do not blame them. Yes, it's not enough. There's so much money that we need. Developing an African language is very expensive. Even our African linguist, it won't sound nice, I know, colleagues, but I have to say it because I'm giving this platform. They want to be paid for the development of their languages, and they're very expensive. Just to contribute to the development of our own languages, we then expect to be paid a lot, and then all the money goes to them. But I'm not sure whether we need to talk about that today, because I can see people are looking at me like that. Oh, no, Ma, you want us to do it free of charge. I'm not saying that you need to do it free of charge, colleagues, because you're contributing your time, right? And you're contributing your knowledge, and you're contributing everything that you have toward the development of the languages. And we really appreciate that from the institutions. And then lastly, colleagues, both the Constitution and the framework recognize the agency to develop African languages. But there's limited agency of ensuring adequate support. Like I said earlier on, there is some grant, but it's still not enough. There's no agency in that. They believe that with whatever that they give us, then we'll do wonders, right? And then that's why they come and monitor us every year, because they gave us their money. But it's not enough at all. Okay, I'm taking you now through what we are doing at the University of the Free State to move from rhetoric to implementation. And how do we fix the aeroplane while it is in the air? How do we use the limited resources that we have to make some stride, to move from point A to point B with the development of African languages? because it starts with us. It begins with us. Nobody will come from anywhere in the world to come and do this. It is our responsibility. And like I said, the future generation will ask us, where were you? Okay, as a point of departure, at the University of the Free State, when I got there in 2022, my first responsibility was to revise the language policy 2016. It is now language policy 2023. What I appreciated about my perfect timing of getting to the University of the Free State was to make sure that if I were to draft the implementation of the language policy at the University of the Free State, I want to put the principles for me that will be implementable. I don't want to play with the big words in the language policy. I don't want it to look beautiful on paper. And then when you ask me 5 years down the line, how far have you done? These are beautiful objectives, using big words, so that when you open our website, oh wow, University of the Free State is decolonizing. We are not using those big words, but we are actually implementing our language policy. So this is what we appreciate, myself and Dr. Hlongwa, as the directors of the Academy for Multilingualism. It's because when we drafted our language policy and the implementation plan, we wanted to make sure that whatever that we put in the language policy, it's actually what we are going to do. Then we'll take it after 5 years when we are to revise the language policy and see what have you learned, where are the gaps now. So the first thing that we did when we revised the language policy was to identify the key areas for the implementation. Okay, firstly, before that, we had to identify the UFS languages. Yes, there are 11 official languages in South Africa, or 12, let me say that. But within the immediate context of the University of the Free State, what is our regional languages? What is the mandate from the language policy framework? What are the languages that are we mandated to develop? We cannot develop all the languages, colleagues. That is why there are 26 universities in South Africa across different regions. So what is our languages? And their status. That one was very, very important. When I sit down, myself and Dr. Hlang, we said that, are they all equal in status? Are they really equal? Can you reflect on that? Which one is the language of instruction? That one does not have an equal status with others, right? And then we had to zone our priority now in terms of the development. So we're developing one language among the 4 languages of the University of the Free State. Let me name them maybe. We have Sesotho, we have Afrikaans, we are in the Free State, colleagues. We have Afrikaans, we have isiZulu, we have our beautiful Koko campus, where almost more than 90% of our students, they isiZulu as their home languages. We have South African Sign Language in our language policy, and we have the de facto status of English. But the status of all these languages definitely are not equal. Let me make an example. I've already said English is a language of instruction. Sesotho is not a language of instruction. Why? Because it's underdeveloped, right? If we were to elevate the status, we immediately need to develop Sesotho before we can think about bringing back Afrikaans into the table. We need to start to develop Sesotho. That is our agency at the University of the Free State. And then what is the status of isiZulu now as one of the languages of the University of the Free State? Actually, we had to look at what has UKZN done. They've done amazing work. So isiZulu is not at the same level as Sesotho in terms of development. They've been on the game for 15 years, and we applaud them. So then we decided, okay, they do not have equal status. Let us start by developing Sesotho, and we borrow isiZulu from UKZN. We do not have to compete. That's where a problem where we want our African languages to compete with one another. We did not want that at the University of the Free State. That's why we had to sign MOU with the University of KwaZulu-Natal. We're actually receiving all the resources that they've developed in the past 15 years. So now, therefore, there is isiZulu that is already half developed. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. But Sesotho, we had to start from the ground. Nothing was done in terms of the development of Sesotho. So therefore, we're saying that we're developing Sesotho, we're promoting Afrikaans. It's already an advanced language, an intellectualized language, a language of academia. We do not spend any money. We just need to promote it within the spaces of the University of the Free State, because we still have our students who are home language of Afrikaans. Afrikaans does not have a face, that does not have a color now, colleagues. If you go to the Free State and you ask a student at the University of the Free State, what is your home language? A student that looks like mine will say Afrikaans. It does not have a color. So we cannot actually exclude our own student because they speak the language that we feel that it is privileged. Hence, we're promoting Afrikaans in the academic spaces as well as across the university. And then we also promote isiZulu because it's already being developed by the University of KwaZulu-Natal. And then another thing was to identify the key areas for the implementation. Let us not start big. I always see language policies of other universities, they promise a lot, such that they become so overwhelmed, they do not even know where to start. It's okay to start small. Remember that the lifespan of a language policy is 5 years. You can start small. You are allowed to start small. I allow you, colleagues, to start small. I give you that permission. Start small, so that when you are actually evaluated or actually monitored, at least you can say that out of the 3 areas, I've done 1 or I've done 2. Then have the long list of 10 things that I promise to do with a little limited resources that we have. And another thing was to recognize external collaborators. This is very, very key. Who are the people that we need to work with? We do not want to work in isolation. Professor Pratt said that very well yesterday. We must collaborate. We must reach out, whether within our borders of South Africa or even beyond. Who are our key collaborators internally within the university as well as external? Those are key people that we had to identify when we are revising the language policy. In our context, the likes of the African languages, Department of African Languages, we cannot develop Sesotho without the expertise that come from the department. Center for Teaching and Learning, when we speak about multilingual pedagogies, they are experts in that field. We cannot actually start to implement African languages within the spaces of teaching and learning without drawing from their strength. And our students, as the recipients, we sometimes forget them. We cannot develop languages or their languages without them. That one is very important, colleagues. Let us not forget our students. And also, let us not forget our postgraduate students as emerging scholars as well, and they have a lot to contribute, especially when we're developing these terminologies of their field. And then we had to connect the resources, how much we have within the institution, how much comes from the government. We put together, we connect them. We need to know how much we have before we start. That one is very, very important, so that we don't dream too big. So implementation plan is very key. It's very, very important. There's a spelling error there, colleagues. What are the activities that you are going to drive? What is your timeline? And what are the expected outputs? If you do not have those things, and then you get tired along the way, you do not even know what is the end journey looks like, because you do not have those outputs. You do not have activities that drives the implementation from day to day. It can be only 5 activities, but it's very, very important to articulate them clearly. What are those activities and who's responsible for actually implementing them? I'll move a little bit faster, Mahlobo. Fixing the plane in the air. So we identified 4 areas of implementation: teaching and learning, research, institutional culture, and community development. We did not want to overwhelm ourselves. You will see as I go through quickly, a little bit quicker, with my slide, that how are we implementing now in the spaces of teaching and learning, in the spaces of research, in the spaces of institutional culture, as well as in the community. as a community, in the scholarship of community development, let me say that. Okay, so in the teaching and learning, what is our priority, right? Sesotho terminology development was really key. It support access, where English is the barrier. Then we had to start with it. Like I said, we did not have enough money, but we needed to start somewhere. So I'm listing here, colleagues. I talked about collaborations internally within the university and externally. As we move across, I will not read the list, but we'll see that we're reaching out to University of KwaZulu-Natal. We're reaching out to PenSALB. We're reaching out to Sesotho National Language Board. We're reaching out to students internally, discipline expert. If you are to develop Sesotho terminology for mathematics, I'm not a mathematician, I cannot do that. They are experts in the field of mathematics. We find them in the Department of Mathematics. They are students that are studying. They come from Sesotho language background. They know the language that they use. We also have key stakeholders, Sesotho linguists. I don't think that I mentioned terminologists there. Yes, I mentioned them. Lexicographers. We also work with subject teachers. Those are very, very important, colleagues. If we were to think that we're bridging the gap between basic education and higher education, we want to sow the seed before they even join higher education. If they say there's a gap, now the rollover of mother tongue, mother tongue, Dr. Mzimela? Thank you very much. I listened to your presentation yesterday. It was very important. So as they roll out that, colleagues, we are the experts at universities. We produce knowledge. They are waiting for us to produce knowledge so that they can implement that. Teachers are not experts. They are pedagogists. They are very, very good in teaching, but they need resources. Who produce resources if we fold our arms? So that's where we work with the school teachers. We bring them to the university because they know the curriculum. They know the subject advisors. Thank you very much to the Department of Basic Education in the Free State. We work with Free State Department of Arts and Culture as well. So the list is endless, but collaboration is very, very important so that that project becomes a success. And the time is very also important because our students, they need to use these terminologies. We cannot, for 10 years, promising them that we're developing the terminologies until they fail, until they leave universities. Because we're always promising. When they come to us, oh, you wait, my baby, we're developing mathematics, terminology for physics. They come next year. They come next year. Yes, there is a process that PenSALB wants us to go through, but the time is crucial for our students that are still struggling and when they learn in English only. So like, I'm putting I asked for ethical clearance because some faces are familiar. So we work with, like I said, Sesotho linguists within the Department of African Languages. Within the African languages, we work with teachers from DPE, we work with lexicographers, we work with our students, the list is endless. Then when we have this is a picture that we took, I think that it was 2023, when we did our first Sesotho terminology for accounting. This is how it looks like when it's done. It goes through PenSALB. It's a lengthy process, a little bit frustrating because students are waiting, but we need to be patient so that we produce quality. We cannot have a consultative week this week and then tomorrow we bring that. We need to standardize for quality. We need to verify them. We need to hand them over to the department. This PenSALB will give us a certificate to say, University of the Free State, all these 500 terms for Sesotho accounting, they've been standardized. They are quality. Students and lecturers can now use them. Look at the smile in their faces, colleagues. It says a lot. And then that's what it looks like. I can see Mashlaba is whispering 5 minutes. Teaching and learning, we also have translanguaging tutorials. We train. We are not expecting translanguaging, but we invite people, we invite scholars, we train our tutors on how to facilitate these multilingual spaces. So remember, students, they learn in English, then they do not grasp much. then they go to these translanguaging spaces. We don't have to do it, colleagues. We can actually invite scholars, leading scholars in the field, to come and assist us in our universities to do this. We also do staff training on multilingual pedagogies. Remember that the language policy framework, it talks about these multilingual pedagogies. This is our way of doing it. Sometimes the department will invite us to do small group facilitation of these multilingual pedagogies. Again, we are not expect, because we are implementing the language policy. We invite people that will do it. The likes of Professor Leketi Makalela, he's always available by invitation, by the way, to come and assist us. You don't have to struggle and fail, colleagues, when the support is there. I'm talking about, there are so many others. We have also invited Professor Ntombela last year to come and facilitate such a workshop. We have invited Dr. Madiba from Stellenbosch to do that, and so many others as well. And it really works wonders. We talked about academic books written in African languages. This is one of our biggest projects as well. We actually want to produce knowledge in African languages, right? We want to have these theoretical papers written in Chivenda. In that book, colleagues, I did not bring the book. I was supposed to bring few copies. In that book, we have a chapter in Chivenda, research paper. Amazing. We have empirical studies written in isiZulu, written in Xhosa, in that particular book. If you want a copy, you can come to University of the Free State. Yes, definitely. We launch it and then we make it available. I think that Professor Ntombela have one copy or two in the library at the University of Limpopo. There you go, colleagues. You can go to your library at the University of Limpopo. There's one or two. First come, first served in terms of, I think that they borrow you. They don't give you free. They borrow you so that you can browse. It's a very good resource for academic literacy now in African languages. It's a very, very good source. And then we have, under research now, we translate PhD abstract into South Africans and isiZulu. We work together with the library after graduation, and when those PhD abstracts have been verified to be very, very good by supervisors and the university, they store them in the university repository. That's where we access them. You'll see in the list what are the processes that are involved in doing that. It's an amazing project of actually providing access to knowledge and these epistemologies in African language. It may not be the entire thesis, but when you read an abstract, you can be interested to read the entire thesis. It's also one tool for advancing and intellectualizing our African languages. We have at an institutional culture, we have multilingual mokete. Students are dancing in different ways. They have become so excited, colleagues. We think that we're doing it for ourselves. Sometimes that's a barrier. If you do think these activities, you put yourself before everything. Put our students, look at how they celebrate their linguistic diversity, their different cultures. It becomes an amazing moment for them. We embrace everything that they bring to the university. And then our universities, they strive in this diversity instead of it being a barrier. We also have International Mother Tongue Day, where our international students and local students, they celebrate their languages in different ways. We also have Sesotho short story competition, where our staff and students, they participate in the writing of short stories in Sesotho. We give them prizes to encourage them to write, because writing is not an easy thing, colleague. We also have in the scholarship of community engagement internally, because community engagement does not have to be an external thing every time. So internally, the community within the University of the Free State, isiXhosa spelling bee. Look at how our students, they celebrate their languages. isiXhosa spelling bee. They get certificate, and it goes to what they've done at the universities. It means a lot for them. It also, they feel proud when their languages are embraced. Remember, isiXhosa is not in our language policy, but that does not stop us from promoting it for its own speakers. So at the University of the Limpopo, Mahloba, there might not be isiZulu in the language policy, but that does not stop us from actually celebrating the languages that our students bring from their backgrounds. We also do Afrikaans. You'll see this one. I loved it, this one. They also spell in Afrikaans. It's their identity. It's who they are, and they celebrate that. We give them smaller Nana prizes, colleagues, just to encourage them. You don't have to do it. I'm not sure if Sino is here. You invite other colleagues from other institutions. We don't have isiXhosa experts at the University of the Free State. If we do isiXhosa spelling bee, we rely from people like this. Come and give us these words. Come and adjudicate. It's very, very important. I spoke about collaboration with other institutions, with other linguists from other universities. It's very, very important for our students. Might not be for me, but for our students, colleagues. What are the lessons that we have learned into the future? We do not call them challenges. We call them lessons. We cannot do it alone. We have learned that. We cannot do it alone. Money is not everything. Money is not everything. If you organize a isiXhosa spelling bee, we might not spend a lot of money. Just print certificate and start somewhere. Students celebrate, they look forward to that. Colleagues, money is not everything. You do not need to start with a big project. I missed the word, big project. You can start small. Celebrate those small activities. One day they build up into something big. You do not have to win everyone from the beginning. Some people might not want to see what you do. They might not like what you do, but start anyway. You will win them along the way. You fix the aeroplane while it is in the air. When they see you start doing it, even our own colleagues that looks like us, they do not support these things. But when they see us doing it, they start to join and say, oh, this is really amazing, Norma. Yes, planning is key. Plan, plan, and plan. Know what we'll do in September, for Mother Tongue Day in February, what you will do. For Language Week in September, Heritage Week, what you will do. Start very, very small. Adopt inclusive approach. Include other languages. We don't want to see the exclusive multilingualism approach where other languages are pushed to the boundaries because you are promoting your own language. We're promoting Afrikaans. I don't speak Afrikaans. We're promoting Shivenda. This year, actually, we had a spelling bee organized by Student Association in Humanities. Spelling bee in Shivenda, spelling bee in Sepedi, spelling bee in Sesotho, spelling bee in Afrikaans, in isiZulu, and in isiXhosa. They organized themselves. They love these things, colleagues, right? So you need to adopt an inclusive approach if you want to succeed. Time is crucial, colleagues. Very, very crucial. We do not have luxury of time. Our students, they look up to us. Every day, when we talk about the implementation of the languages, they have hope that next year things will be different. In 2026, things will be different. Let us not fail them. Ngiyabonga kakhulu.
What a presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.